You ever have a moment where something inside you goes quiet, like the lights dimmed, and even though everything around you keeps moving, the cars on the road, the clock on the wall, your own breath, you just know something's changed? It happened to me in a Walgreens parking lot of all places. But I should start a little further back. Back when my wife was still alive. Her name was Leah. She had this laugh, low and throaty like she'd been smoking since high school, which she had, and it always came out in bursts. Never the polite kind. If she laughed, it meant she meant it. Leah didn't do anything halfway. Loved hard. Fought hard. And when she got sick, she faced it like a damn warrior, even when the rest of us couldn't look it in the eye. We were together 12 years. Married for 9. Most of them were good. A few were hard. And the last one felt like watching the house you built with your own hands catch fire, and all you can do is stand outside and feel the heat. I remember this one night, maybe a month before she passed. We were lying in bed, and she was so thin by then I could feel every bone in her shoulder under my hand. She turned her face toward me, half in shadow, and said, "Promise me something. When I go, don't let it all stop with me." I didn't know what she meant at the time. I just said, okay, because what the hell else do you say? After she died, I did what a lot of people do. I tried to keep moving, but I was moving through syrup. Got up, went to work, came home, drank too much, didn't answer texts. You know the drill. People check in, then they stop. You stop asking them to. The silence becomes normal. Then one Thursday, mid-January, gray as dishwater, I went to Walgreens to pick up toothpaste. That's all. Just toothpaste. And there, in aisle 6, I saw this kid. Couldn't have been more than 16. Skinny, hoodie too big for him, pacing near the razors. He had this look. Like a deer that's already been hit and doesn't know it yet. He didn't look at me. But something about him stuck. I finished my errand, walked out to my truck, sat behind the wheel, and froze. Because suddenly I knew what he was about to do. Not a guess. Not a suspicion. I knew. And here's the thing, I almost turned the key and drove away. Almost. But something, maybe Leah's voice, maybe my own guilt, maybe God, I don't know, something told me, don't. And I didn't. That moment? That pause? That stupid Walgreens parking lot on a Thursday? That's where the before me ended. And the after me, the one who couldn't unknow what he knew, the one who walked back in, that's who I became. I'll tell you what happened next. But just know this, once I opened that door and stepped back inside, I wasn't the same man who walked out. Not even close. When I walked back into the Walgreens, I didn't have a plan. I wasn't some hero, not some trained therapist or cop. Just a man who knew what it felt like to stand on the edge of something dark and hear nothing calling him back. I guess I thought maybe I could be that something for the kid. Or maybe I was just scared to let it go. He was still in aisle 6. Still pacing. His hands were jammed deep in his hoodie pocket like he was trying to keep them from shaking. He hadn't picked anything up, just kept glancing at the locked razors behind the glass. You'd think it'd be awkward, right? Me just approaching him like that. But it wasn't. There was something so fragile in the air, like walking into a room full of feathers where one wrong move could stir everything into a storm. I stood about 5 feet away, angled myself so I didn't look too direct. And I said, "Hey, you okay?" He didn't answer at first. Didn't even look at me. Just froze like a rabbit caught in a backyard spotlight. I took a slow breath. I don't work here, if that's what you're thinking. I was just over there. Saw you looked like maybe you needed something. Still nothing. But he turned just slightly, like maybe he was listening now. I know this is weird, I said. Hell, I think it was weird too. But I've been where you are. His head snapped up then. Eyes rimmed red, lips pressed tight. There it was, the question he wasn't asking out loud. Where am I, exactly? I didn't say more. Just let it hang there. Silence can be a bridge if you let it. Finally he said, "You don't know me." I nodded. "You're right. I don't." But I recognized the look. What look? The one that says, if I disappear tonight, maybe no one will notice. He didn't speak after that. Just looked at the floor. Long enough I started to wonder if I'd pushed too far. I almost said sorry, almost backed off. Then he said I wasn't gonna do anything. I nodded again. Okay. But I was thinking about it. That's when my heart broke a little. Not because he said it, but because I believed him. And it hit me then, hard and fast, that I'd spent the past year pretending I was the only one walking through hell. I'd made a home in my grief, drawn the curtains, told the world to move on without me. But here was this kid, a stranger, hurting in ways I didn't even know yet. And for the first time since Leah died, I saw outside of my own pain. We stood there like that for a while. Just two people surrounded by discounted shampoo and Valentine's candy, holding space in a world that doesn't usually leave room for it. I said, "Can I buy you a coffee?" He looked at me like I'd asked him to fly to the moon. I'm not trying to fix anything, I added. Just figured we could sit for a bit. You don't have to talk. Hell, I'll do all the talking. I'm good at that. He gave a small, uncertain shrug. And that was enough. We walked out of Walgreens together. Me and this kid with tired eyes and the weight of something unspeakable on his back. And as we stepped into the parking lot, into that cold January dusk, I realized I wasn't just showing up for him. I was showing up for me, too. Maybe for the first time since Leah was gone. We got in the truck. I turned the key. And somewhere between Walgreens and the coffee shop down the road, something shifted in me. Not healed, not whole, but open. And that was new. We didn't talk much on the drive. The kid, he told me his name was Mason, kept his gaze locked on the window, like something important might be happening out there in the cold. I didn't push. I just drove us to this old diner I knew, the kind that still smelled like grease and brewed the kind of coffee that only tastes good past midnight or after a heartbreak. We got a booth near the back. Plastic seats cracked at the edges. A waitress with tired eyes poured us 2 mugs without asking what we wanted. I took mine black. He added 3 sugars and half a cup of cream. Kid looked like he was trying to turn it into something it wasn't. When the waitress left, we sat in silence for a while. He kept fiddling with the sugar packets. You don't have to talk, I said. But you can. He glanced up at me. I don't even know where to start. That's the good part. You don't have to start anywhere in particular. A beat passed. Then he said, my mom's dating this guy. He moved in last year. He doesn't hit me or anything, but he's mean. Always talking down to her. To me. Makes everything feel tight. Like I can't breathe in my own house. I nodded. Let it settle. He doesn't even say stuff directly. Just enough to make you question yourself. You know, I did. Too well. I tried talking to her, he went on. She said I was being dramatic. That he just has a rough way about him. He laughed a little, bitter, hollow. I've been sleeping in my car some nights, just to get away. There was nothing to fix in that moment. No speech I could give. So I just said, that's a lot, man. He nodded, eyes suddenly glassy. I didn't really want to die. I just didn't want to feel like this anymore. That line, I've never forgotten it. It split something in me wide open. I remembered nights with Leah when I wished I could sleep for a week, a month, however long it took to wake up past the pain. Not because I wanted to die, but because I didn't want to keep waking up inside that same ache. I leaned forward. You're not crazy for feeling that way, and you're not weak. He didn't answer, but he stopped looking away. I told him about Leah, the slow decline, the silence afterward, how I'd started drinking more than I should and stopped returning calls. I didn't think anybody would notice if I faded out, I said. He looked surprised. You seem like you have it together. I laughed, just once. I don't, but I'm trying. Something passed between us then. Not friendship exactly, not trust, but recognition. And that's more than most people ever get. We sat there for over an hour, talked a bit more, mostly sat. When I drove him back to his car, he said, thanks. Anytime, I said. He hesitated. You mean that? Yeah, I do. He nodded and stepped out. I watched him go, this kid walking back into whatever storm he came from, but not the same as before. And neither was I. I didn't sleep much that night. Got maybe 2 hours before the sun started bleeding through the blinds. Around 6, I got up, showered, and made myself breakfast. Real food, eggs, toast, coffee. First time in a long while I didn't just grab whatever was in arm's reach or skip it altogether. I even sat down at the table instead of eating over the sink. After I ate, I went into the spare room, the one that used to be Leah's craft space, and opened the bottom drawer of her old writing desk. I hadn't touched it since the week after her funeral. There was a wooden box inside, maybe the size of a shoebox. She kept notes in it. Quotes she liked, old cards, receipts with thoughts scribbled on the back. Inside, I found a napkin, folded into a square, soft from age. Written in her handwriting, blue ink slightly smudged. Be the hand extended. I remembered when she wrote it. We were at Grady's diner, and there was a woman sitting alone by the window crying into her hands. Leah watched her for a few minutes, then got up, walked over, and sat across from her without saying a word. She didn't ask questions, didn't offer advice. Just sat. After a while, she handed the woman her coffee and said, "You don't have to be alone right now." Later, she told me people don't always need answers. Sometimes they just need to know someone's not looking away. I slid the napkin into my wallet. The week passed without hearing from Mason. I didn't have his number, no way to contact him. But every time I drove by that Walgreens, I slowed down just a little. Just in case. The next Thursday, around lunchtime, I stopped at Brookside Diner, a greasy little place off Main with linoleum floors and booths patched up with duct tape. I hadn't been there in years. Sat down in the back, ordered coffee and a turkey sandwich. 15 minutes in, I saw him. Mason. He was bussing tables. Wore a black apron and an expression that looked like he hadn't smiled in a while, but didn't seem quite as lost as before. He glanced over, caught me watching, and gave a small nod. I raised my mug in return. He didn't come over, didn't need to. When I finished, I tucked a 20 under the mug and wrote on the receipt. Still here? No name. Just that. On the way home, I didn't turn the radio on. Just listened to the road and let the quiet be enough. That night, I poured a soda instead of whiskey and sat on the porch. Didn't taste good, but it felt better. And that was something. The next time I saw Mason, it was raining. Late February. Cold, slanting rain that came in sideways and stung your face when the wind caught it just right. I'd pulled into the Brookside Diner for a late lunch. Hadn't planned to. Just kind of ended up there like my truck made the decision before I did. When I stepped inside, soaked through my jacket, he was behind the counter. Not bussing tables this time, working the register. Looked sharper somehow. Hair trimmed. Hoodie swapped out for a plain black polo. Still had the tired eyes, but there was a steadiness in the way he stood. Like he was learning how to hold himself up. He gave me a nod as I sat down. That same quiet, cautious recognition. I didn't wave or say anything right away. Didn't want to spook him or turn this into something heavy again. I just ordered coffee and a slice of pie, opened the newspaper even though I wasn't reading it. 15 minutes in, he slid into the booth across from me, hands stuffed in his pockets. "You come here a lot now," he said. I shrugged. "Guess I do." He nodded. "I saw the receipt. Last time." I figured. Mason looked out the window for a long second. Rain slid down the glass in crooked trails. Then he said, "Things at home haven't changed much. He's still there. Still a prick. But I've been staying with a friend some nights. A guy from school. His mom doesn't ask too many questions." "That's good," I said. "Having somewhere else to go." He gave a half shrug. "Better than sleeping in my car." We sat like that for a while. I didn't press. Let him steer. Finally, he asked, "Why'd you talk to me that night?" It caught me off guard. Not the question, just the way he asked it. Like it had been circling his mind for weeks and finally landed. I thought about it. Could have said something simple like, "You looked like you needed it." But that wasn't the truth. Not all of it. So I said, because I knew what it felt like to think no one would. And because my wife, Leah, she was the kind of person who never let somebody sit in the dark alone. He nodded once, slowly. "You still miss her?" "Every damn day." He didn't respond, but I could see it hit him. The reality of it. That pain doesn't go away, it just changes shape. The waitress came by with our check. I reached for it, but Mason beat me to it. Slapped a 10 and a couple of ones on the table. "My turn," he said. I let him. Outside under the overhang, we stood for a minute. The rain hadn't let up. "You got a number?" I asked. "In case you ever need to call." He hesitated, then pulled out his phone and handed it to me. I typed mine in. "Text me sometime," I said. "Even if you don't know what to say." He just nodded. Then he turned and jogged out into the rain, hoodie pulled up, sneakers splashing through puddles. I stood there and watched him disappear into the gray. And I realized I wasn't checking in on him anymore. I was just showing up. Because that's what Leah would have done. And now I guess it's what I do. A week passed before I heard from him. It was a Wednesday night, just after 10. I was sitting on the couch with an old Clint Eastwood movie playing in the background, half asleep, feet up, lights off. Phone buzzed on the coffee table. Unknown number. "It's Mason. You up?" I stared at it a second, then wrote back. "Yeah. What's going on?" He didn't reply right away. I figured maybe he got cold feet. Maybe he just needed to send something out and know someone was on the other end. Then it buzzed again. "You ever feel like you're not sure if you're mad or just sad?" I didn't think, just typed. All the time. 3 dots showed up. Disappeared. Came back. He was trying to say something. I gave him space. Then, I don't want to go back home tonight. I've been staying at my buddy's, but his mom's out of town and his older brother's being a dick. Told me to get lost. Don't have anywhere else. I stared at the screen. Then I called him. He picked up on the second ring. His voice was quiet. You don't have to come get me or anything, he said right away. I just didn't know who else to text. Where are you? Shell station off Ridgeview. I'm on my way. It was maybe a 10-minute drive. Rain had dried up, but the streets were still slick. I pulled into the lot and saw him sitting on the curb, knees tucked up, hoodie pulled low. Just looked tired. Not just from the day. From all of it. He stood as I pulled up. I rolled down the window. You hungry? He nodded. We hit the all-night diner on Lincoln. No conversation on the drive. Inside, we sat in a booth under a flickering light and split a plate of fries and 2 grilled cheese sandwiches. I let him eat first. He didn't say much. After a while, I asked, you want to crash at my place tonight? He didn't answer right away. Just looked down at the table. It's not weird, I added. You take the spare room. Lock the door if it helps. He nodded slow. Just tonight. Just tonight. Back at my place, I grabbed him a clean towel and some old clothes, flannel pants, a t-shirt. Leah had bought them for me one Christmas. Never worn them. I left them outside the guest room. Before I turned in, I tapped the door gently. I'm glad you texted me, I said through the wood. There was a pause. Then from the other side. Me too. I lay in bed that night listening to the house settle, that old creaking sound it makes when everything's still. I used to hate it. The quiet. Now it felt like something fuller. That night, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt shared. When I woke up the next morning, the house was still quiet. For a second, I wondered if maybe Mason had slipped out during the night. I wouldn't have blamed him. I've known the kind of instinct to run before things start to feel real. Before anyone has a chance to let you down. But when I stepped into the kitchen, he was there. Barefoot, sitting at the table, eating a bowl of dry cereal. He looked up like I'd caught him doing something wrong. Didn't know if it was okay, he said, holding up the half-empty box of Raisin Bran. Only cereal in there for a reason, I said. Means nobody else is trying to eat it. He gave a small smile. It didn't reach all the way up to his eyes, but it was something. I made coffee. Poured 2 mugs. One black, one with too much cream and sugar. Sat down across from him. We didn't talk much. Just sat there, both of us chewing, sipping, blinking into the soft light coming through the kitchen window. There's something sacred about that kind of quiet. No performance, no pressure. Just 2 people breathing in the same room. After a while, he said, you live here alone? Yeah. How long? A little over a year now. He didn't ask more. He didn't have to. He pushed his empty bowl to the side. I'll head out in a bit. Didn't mean to take over your house? You didn't, I said. Stay as long as you need. He paused. What if I don't know how long that is? I looked at him, saw the war going on behind his eyes. Pride, shame, fear? All wrapped up together. You don't have to know, I said. Doors open. He nodded, eyes fixed on the tabletop. That day, I called out of work for the first time in months. Told them I had to take care of something personal. They didn't press. They'd stopped asking questions a while ago. Mason spent most of the morning in the spare room. I gave him space. Mid-afternoon, I heard the sound of video game music drifting through the door, an old console I'd tucked away in the closet. Leah's nephew had left it behind once, years ago. Guess he found it. That night, we made spaghetti. I cooked the noodles, he stirred the sauce. He said, I don't know how to do any of this. What cook? No. Just this. Life. Being around people. Not feeling like I'm waiting for someone to tell me to leave. I didn't try to solve it. I just handed him a wooden spoon and said, start with stirring. The rest comes later. We ate in the living room, plates on our laps, watching some old action movie I'd seen a dozen times. Mason laughed once. Surprised himself, I think. Before bed, I told him again, you're welcome here. No expiration date. He didn't answer. But the next morning, when I got up, there were 2 mugs sitting in the sink. That's how I knew he planned on staying another day. Mason stayed for 3 days before he said the words out loud. I'd just gotten in from work, late March now, the kind of evening where the air smells like wet concrete and the first hints of spring. I kicked off my boots, walked into the kitchen, and found him at the counter chopping onions like he'd done it 100 times. He hadn't. You're crying, I said, leaning against the doorframe. Shut up, he said, blinking fast, half laughing. I'm learning. I grabbed the ground beef from the fridge and started shaping patties. We were making burgers, his idea. Said he saw a video online and wanted to try. We had music on, some old soul stuff Leah used to love, and for a little while it felt like any other night. Like normal. When the food was done and we were halfway through our plates, he set his fork down. Just like that. All motion stopped. I don't want to go back, he said. I didn't pretend not to know what he meant. He looked at me, eyes glassy but steady. I know I'm not supposed to stay here forever. I'm not asking for that. But if I go back there now, I don't know if I'll make it out again. I took a slow breath. You're not a burden, I said. You're not overstaying. This house was quiet for a long time. And I got used to it. Too used to it. But it doesn't feel like that kind of quiet anymore since you showed up. He looked down, jaw working like he was trying to swallow a whole damn mountain. You really mean that? Yeah. I do. We didn't say much more after that. Didn't need to. He stayed. I found an old twin mattress in the garage, cleaned it up, made a proper bed in the spare room. He did his laundry, helped with groceries. We didn't talk about rules. Just found a rhythm. Some nights we cooked, some nights we ordered pizza and watched garbage TV. One Sunday we fixed the back fence together. Took us all day and we still left one post crooked. Didn't matter. A few weeks in, I got a call from his school. I'd left my number as an emergency contact he asked me to, and they were just checking in. Said he'd been attending more regularly. Grades weren't great, but they'd stopped slipping. That night, I asked him what he wanted to do after high school. He shrugged. Said maybe something with cars. Or kitchens. Or computers. He didn't know. I said, you've got time. And for the first time since I'd met him, Mason looked like he believed that. Not forever. Not all the way. But enough. Mason turned 18 in June. No party, no big announcement. Just a quiet Thursday, hot enough to make the porch boards sweat. I came home from work and found him in the driveway tinkering with the old lawnmower. He'd taken the thing apart and was halfway through putting it back together, grease up to his elbows, a cold Coke sweating in the grass beside him. Thought I'd try to fix it, he said, not looking up. It was making that noise again. You're not supposed to work on your birthday, I said. He smirked. Didn't figure anyone told the mower? I walked over and handed him a small white envelope. Just his name on the front. Inside was a prepaid debit card and the spare key to the truck. I'd had it copied a week ago. He stared at it, then back at me. You serious? Just don't crash it. And no speeding tickets. Or at least don't get caught. He didn't say anything right away. Just nodded, stuck the key in his pocket, and went back to the mower. But I saw the way his jaw clenched. The way he blinked a little too fast. That night, we grilled steaks in the backyard and ate under the stars. No candles, no cake. But there was peace, a kind that comes from knowing you're not alone and haven't been for a while. We didn't talk much about his mom. He'd stopped hearing from her regularly after he moved in. A couple of texts here and there. Hope you're good. Be safe. Nothing with weight. I knew it bothered him even if he wouldn't say it. There's a particular ache that comes from knowing someone who's supposed to care doesn't show up. It doesn't scream. It just lingers, a low, steady hum. One night, we were out back, sitting on the steps, both of us drinking ginger alesh like they were beers. He said, sometimes I still wait for someone to tell me to pack up. Like I'm overstaying something I was never invited to. I looked at him. You live here. That's the invite. He nodded. Didn't say anything else. But I saw him breathe easier after that. Midsummer, he got a job at a local garage. Paid minimum wage, but he came home every day with grease on his hands and a little more weight in his shoulders, the good kind. The kind that comes from standing a little taller. One Friday, I came home and the lawn was mowed, the dishes were done, and there was dinner on the stove. Spaghetti. Sauce from a jar, noodles a little overcooked. Figured it was my turn, he said. It wasn't perfect. But it was good. Afterward, we sat on the porch, quiet except for the cicadas buzzing through the trees. He looked over and said, I don't know who I'd be if you hadn't walked back into that store. I didn't answer right away. Just took a sip, watched the sky turn that deep indigo. I don't either, I said. But I'm glad I did. By the time fall rolled around, Mason had been living with me nearly 6 months. He'd settled into the house like a second rhythm, left his shoes by the door, brewed the coffee too strong, hummed when he did dishes. Little things. Things you don't notice right away, but once they're gone, the quiet feels too quiet. One evening in late September, he came into the kitchen holding a folded brochure. Community college has a certificate program, he said, sliding it across the counter. Auto tech. Starts in January. I picked it up, gave it a once-over. Sounds like your kind of thing. He nodded. It's not long. 1.5 years. Could work during it, too. You thinking about applying? He looked at the floor. I already did. Just need to figure out the FAFSA stuff. There was a pause then. I put your name down. As my guardian. I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't a kid anymore. Still young, sure. But there was something steadier in the way he held himself. Like the ground wasn't shifting underneath him for once. I'm proud of you, I said. He didn't respond. Just smiled, quick and small, and went to his room. That night, I sat on the back porch with an old photo of Leah in my hand. She was in the garden, dirt on her jeans, laughing at something just off camera. I hadn't pulled the picture out in months. Couldn't bring myself to. I think you'd like him, I said into the dark. He's not perfect, but he's trying. I don't know if I expected an answer. Just felt like she should know. October came. Then November. Mason's routine held: work, classes, dinner, sleep. He still had bad days. Sometimes came home quiet, eyes heavy. Sometimes snapped at things that didn't warrant it. But he always came back around. One Sunday we took the truck out past the river, just driving. No destination. Leaves gold and fire across the hills. He rode with the window down, elbow resting on the edge, a worn flannel over his shoulders. After a while, he said, "You think people ever get totally past things?" I thought about it. No. I think we carry them. But they get lighter when someone else helps lift. He nodded. Then, I want to be that for someone, someday. You already are, I said. You just don't see it yet. We drove in silence after that. Good silence. Not long ago, I caught him leaving early in the morning with a backpack slung over one shoulder and a thermos of coffee in his hand. He looked tired, but focused. Like someone who'd made peace with his past, even if he still felt the weight of it. When the door clicked shut behind him, I stood there in the kitchen and realized something. This house, the one that used to echo, didn't feel empty anymore. I used to think the biggest moment of my life was when Leah died. That everything after was just a slow fade. But it wasn't. It was that Thursday in January in a Walgreens parking lot when I decided not to drive away. After that, I wasn't the same. And thank God.